I had this tiny flicker of a dream back in my 20s, this secret hope that maybe, just maybe, I could do something like this. And now, it's real. I see God's hand in every step of it. His plans are bigger than my wildest ideas or my worst mistakes. That's the biggest lesson I've learned. It's a beautiful sentiment, one that paints Savannah as both a dreamer and a realist. She's not just basking in the glow of success, she's marveling at the fact that she made it here at all. And if you dig a little deeper into her story, you'll understand why. From Denny's to the desk. An unlikely rise. Savannah Guthrie is a household name now, but rewind the clock a few decades, and you'd find a very different version of her. One she's the first to admit didn't scream future star. The Today Show as we know it wouldn't be the same without her steady presence, but she's quick to point out that her path to Studio 1A was anything but a straight line. There were plenty of days when she felt like a fraud, wrestling with imposter syndrome even as her career began to take off. Nobody looked at me and said, "That kid's got it," she recalled with a wry grin. Not a soul. Certainly not back in high school when I was skipping class, puffing on cigarettes at Denny's, and barely scraping by to get into college. I almost bombed the SAT. Seriously, it was a close call. And even when I started out in local news, I was a mess. My hair was a disaster, my voice was all over the place, and I had no clue what I was doing. If you'd seen me back then, I'd be the last person you peg as one to watch. That's the honest truth. It's a vivid picture. Teenage Savannah, rebel streak in full swing, loitering at a diner with a cigarette in hand, her future anything but certain. Then there's the rookie reporter version, awkward, unpolished, fumbling through her first gigs in small markets. It's the kind of origin story that makes her current perch at Today feel all the more remarkable. She didn't start out as the golden child of journalism, blessed with raw talent or a clear roadmap. She was just a regular kid with big dreams and a lot to figure out. So how did she get from there to here? Savannah chalks it up to a mix of persistence and something bigger than herself. You set your sights on something, you keep moving forward, but at some point, you have to trust there's a force guiding you, she said. I didn't have all the answers, or even half of them, but I kept going, and somehow, I ended up where I was meant to be. The long road to NBC. Savannah's journey to the Today Show wasn't a fairy tale ascent. It was a slog, paved with hard work and more than a few stumbles. She grew up in Tucson, Arizona, a desert kid with a curious mind and a knack for asking questions. Journalism wasn't an obvious calling at first. She studied at the University of Arizona and even took a detour through law school, earning a degree from Georgetown before circling back to her true passion. By then, she caught the reporting bug, starting out in local newsrooms where the hours were long, the pay was modest, and the learning curve was steep. Those early days were a trial by fire. She cut her teeth at stations like KTVM in Butte, Montana, and WUSA in Washington, D.C., chasing stories, mastering the teleprompter, and figuring out how to hold her own on air. It wasn't glamorous. Think bad haircuts, questionable wardrobe choices, and the occasional flubbed live shot. But it was formative. Every misstep taught her something. Every small win fueled her drive. Her big break came when she joined NBC News in 2007, first as a correspondent and later as the White House correspondent. It was a leap into the deep end, covering presidents, breaking news, and the chaos of Capitol Hill, but Savannah thrived. By 2012, she'd landed the co-anchor chair on Today alongside Matt Lauer, a role that cemented her as a morning TV heavyweight. Since then, she's weathered scandals, co-host shakeups, and the relentless pace of live television, all while raising 2 kids with her husband, Michael Feldman. And now, she's not just anchoring, she's branching out. Her latest book, Mostly What God Does, a collection of essays about faith and life, hit shelves in 2024, adding author to her already stacked resume. It's a new chapter that's got her beaming, a chance to connect with people beyond the screen. But even with all this success, Savannah still carries a hint of that old disbelief, like she's half expecting someone to tap her on the shoulder and say, "Sorry, we got the wrong Savannah." Faith, gratitude, and the bigger picture. What keeps Savannah grounded amid the whirlwind? For her, it's faith, a quiet, steady belief that's woven through every twist of her story. She's not shy about it either. I see God's fingerprints everywhere, she told POPL. In the good stuff, the messy stuff, the times I thought I'd blown it. Today, anchor Savannah Guthrie is having a blast exploring a new chapter of her life. Her journalism career is at an all-time high, and she's now a published author. But even so, she wasn't always certain about her career prospects. In a new interview, the 53-year-old gave fans a peek into her personal thoughts and how she's ultimately relieved she took a leap of faith in her career. Savannah Guthrie likens career to being on a mountaintop. For many journalists, anchoring on a major network is the ultimate dream. Even though Savannah Guthrie has been in the spotlight for years, she and her colleagues realize they have so much to express gratitude for. They're well aware of the impact NBC's Today show has on everyday viewers. And it's bigger than any individual, and we all know that, Savannah cheerfully shared about the Today Show in a new interview with PUPL. And I'm happy for Craig Melvin. I mean, his parents and his kids came. He got to have that moment where he reflected on where he's been and how far he's come. And that's a beautiful part of this journey. And those mountaintop moments, they don't come every day. You really do have to soak them in. I would say never, she laughed. But I'm very grateful, and I'm very aware. I know how blessed I am. I know how improbable it is that of all people on planet Earth, that it would be me. That this little spark of a secret dream that I might have had in my 20s could actually come true, so specifically. And of course, I see God's fingerprints all over it. God is greater than any plans or any of our screw-ups. That's what I've learned. I know how lucky I am. The journalist admits she didn't possess raw talent. The Today Show would look very different without Savannah Guthrie. But even so, she admits the road to NBC was a long process. Some days, imposter syndrome seeps in and she can hardly believe her success. Nobody was like, there's a natural talent. At all. The journalist recalled of her youth, no one. And by the way, certainly not in high school when I was ditching class and smoking cigarettes at Denny's, and barely got into college and almost didn't pass the SAT. Not then, and not even when I started in local news and had my first job and my hair was terrible. My voice was insane, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was there. I know how unlikely this is. If anyone had seen me, it would be the last person you would ever say, boy, that one's got potential. It's the truth. It just goes to show that you have your goals and you live your life and push forward, but you have to have some faith that there's something greater than you, and it's pushing you toward your ultimate purpose and your destiny, Savannah Guthrie concluded. Keep following TV shows Ace Online and check back soon for more news and updates on the Today Show cast. Savannah Guthrie is living her best life these days, and it's hard not to smile along with her. At 53, the Today Show anchor is riding a wave of professional highs, her journalism career soaring, a new book under her belt, and a sense of gratitude that radiates through every word she speaks. But if you sit down with her for even a moment, you'll quickly learn she wasn't always so sure this was where she'd end up. In a recent interview, Savannah opened up about the winding road that brought her here, her brushes with self-doubt, and the faith that's carried her through. It's a story of grit, grace, and a few unexpected detours, and it's one that's as inspiring as it is relatable. A mountaintop moment. For anyone who's ever dreamed of making it big in journalism, landing a spot as an anchor on a network like NBC is the holy grail. Savannah's been a fixture on the Today Show for years now, her warm smile and sharp intellect greeting millions of viewers each morning. But even after all this time, she doesn't take a single second of it for granted. She knows the show is more than just a job. It's a cultural touchstone, a morning ritual for countless households, and a platform that humbles everyone who steps onto its set. In a recent chat with PUPL, Savannah reflected on what it means to be part of something so much bigger than herself. It's not about any one of us, she said, her voice brimming with sincerity. We all feel that. And I love seeing someone like Craig Melvin get his moment to shine. His family was there, his parents, his kids, and you could see him taking it all in, thinking about how far he's come. That's what makes this ride so special. Those mountaintop moments don't happen every day, and when they do, you got to let them sink in. She paused, then let out a little laugh. Would I have ever pictured this for myself? Never in a million years. But I'm so grateful. I know how lucky I am, how downright improbable it is that I'm the one sitting here.